This time I'm pleased to introduce this year's valedictorian from the traditional program, the student who has achieved the highest academic record of his classmates. William Ireton, could you please come forward, Will?
Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to thank President Kelly, Dean Hawkshaw, the Board of Trustees, our guest speaker, school administrators, family, and friends. And to the class of 2012, we made it. The nice thing about being a valedictorian, I get to sit in the comfort of a shaded seat. However, the downside about being a valedictorian is, as early as 2 weeks ago, I was faced with a daunting task of having to come up with a speech that not only catches everybody's attention, but also delivers an inspiring message. When faced with a difficult task, usually like this, a source of help is my father, the walking dictionary of the family. He immediately responded with the explanation of the Latin word valediction, which means dictus, to say, vale, farewell. And so, we say farewell to our past because today we celebrate the very beginning of the rest of our lives. As proud members of the class of 2012, we feel that Menlo has prepared us for the real world. Yes, that daunting concept that swelled larger and larger as graduation day approached. But before we look into the future, let me slip into a time machine back to my first day at Menlo. If only I knew then that my years here would consist of sleepless nights, doubts, and yes, I'll admit, some tears. Actually, a lot of tears. I probably would have gone back to the very crib that kept me safe and sound. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. I came to Menlo because I was cut from the baseball team at Occidental College. Still wanting to play collegiate baseball, I was lucky enough to find a new home at Ireton. Not wanting to meet the same fate, I decided to push myself to the extreme in order to excel both as a student and as an athlete. The summer before I arrived at Menlo, I created a grueling regimen of working out, conditioning, practices, weightlifting, and adding on to that, I was fully committed to a summer baseball team. The result of all this hard work was a sprained back, which almost wiped away my whole summer season. But then, after physical therapy, I returned just in time for the playoffs. However, I stepped into a hole again and sprained my ankle. That ended my summer. Well, the hole was a blessing in disguise because it gave me the time to really reflect on myself. I honestly asked myself if I was really committed not just to fulfilling a dream of becoming a professional baseball player, but also as a well-rounded scholar. I set out with a plan to not only focus on athletics, but also as a student, and most importantly, as a person. With its small campus and tightly knit student body, Menlo was a perfect fit. I was able to find balance in my college life. I actually started enjoying many of the classes, getting to know the professors who were generous with their time. Spearheading a community service project allowed me to get to know a lot of new people. I stopped getting hurt on the field. I started taking yoga and also singing lessons, although not at the same time, of course. And I took guitar lessons so that I can feel just a bit closer to my favorite country singer. You might have guessed it, Taylor Swift. I won't elaborate on that because she is deserving of a whole new speech. The hole in the outfield changed my life. Because of that hole, I was able to find and embrace my new identity. I learned to focus, to prioritize, and invest my time and effort to what mattered the most. Be the master of your fate. Follow your dreams. Be a nonconformist. It's the process that matters, not always the results. These are some of the slogans that I used during my stay at Menlo. As we face a real world filled with trepidation and uncertainty, challenges and expectations, let us make a commitment to ourselves that starting today, we will fight the good fight, even at the very pit of our failures. Let us remember that our greatest strength comes from our weakness. As we embark on a mission to face reality head-on, let us, class of 2012, become an agent for positive change. Let us become the class with high hopes and dreams. Let us become the class that finishes strong. Because when we do see each other, sooner than later, in all parts of the world, we will share our stories, both our high points as well as our low points. And finally, to the class of 2012, let us remember that today marks the very beginning of the rest of our lives as we start fulfilling our aspirations and dreams. Thank you.
Each year I give one student a gift because there's too many of you to give all a gift, and I'm giving my favorite baseball signed by Joe Morgan, who was a big shot in the National League and most valuable player and in the Hall of Fame in 1990. But I'm sure that Will doesn't know who it is, so I printed from Wikipedia all about him. But one thing I want to say is, after the tsunami that hit Japan, Will and you students did such a marvelous job of collecting money, educating us about the tragedy, that we raised more money than Stanford did as far as for the survivors. And I'm forever grateful to Will for doing that. Thank you.